After 26 years in uniform, I thought I knew how to read people, but I never saw her coming. My name's Raymond Carter. Most people just call me Ray. I served in the United States Army for 26 years, 3 combat tours, 2 knee replacements, a busted shoulder, and one hell of a coffee addiction. I'm 52 years old. I walk with a limp some days. I forget birthdays more often than I should. But I've always remembered the day I met Melissa, and I've never once forgotten the promises I made to her on our wedding day. We got married when I was 27. She was 24. Soft-spoken, smart, worked in physical therapy back then. She used to laugh at my stiff posture, told me I needed yoga before I turned into a brick wall. She stuck with me through every deployment, every holiday missed, every injury, every dark chapter, every letter I couldn't write, and every call I couldn't make. We had a son, Dylan, when I was 35. I wasn't home when he was born. I was across the world, dodging mortars and sandstorms. She did it all, diapers, preschool, first broken arm, without ever complaining. At least not to me. And when I finally hung up the uniform for good, I thought I was doing it for us, for her, so we could live the life we put on hold for over 2 decades. I came home with dreams, not big ones, just quiet ones. I wanted mornings with fresh coffee and newspaper crossword puzzles. I wanted road trips in the camper van I'd spent a year customizing, everything from the wiring to the water pump. I did it myself. I wanted to see Yellowstone with her, watch sunsets in Colorado, make love in a sleeping bag somewhere in the Grand Canyon like 2 dumb teenagers. I thought she wanted those things too. But reality isn't a warm welcome or a tearful embrace. Reality was her kiss on the cheek instead of the lips. Reality was her nervous laugh when I touched her hip. Reality was the guest room door slowly becoming her new bedroom. Because you snore now, Ray. And I just need my rest. The first 2 weeks felt like I was staying in someone else's home. She wasn't angry, just distant. She made coffee, but only 1 cup. She watched her shows with earbuds in. She answered my questions, but never asked any of her own. I tried not to take it personally. I told myself it was adjustment, that I'd changed, that maybe I needed to rediscover how to be a husband again, not a soldier. So I tried. I planned date nights, cooked dinner, even signed us up for a couple's salsa class. She didn't laugh. She said her knees hurt. I tried harder, but little cracks started forming, and they spread faster than I was ready for. Her phone was always on silent, always face down. She'd leave the room when it rang. One night I caught a glimpse of a notification, a text preview from someone saved as MT. She grabbed the phone before I could read more. "Just work stuff," she said. "From the studio, the manager." I nodded, smiled, even though she'd told me she was the manager. One evening, I came home from a veteran support group meeting a little earlier than usual. It was quiet. Her car wasn't in the driveway, but the garage monitor was blinking, a motion alert. Curious, I tapped the screen. There she was, Melissa, on the driveway, wearing a sleek black dress, hair done, heels on, smiling. She looked younger than I remembered. She leaned into the window of a sleek white sedan I didn't recognize. Then I saw it. She kissed the driver. It was casual, confident, like they'd done it before. Not a goodbye, not a mistake, just routine. I stood there, watching the footage on repeat. I don't know how many times I rewound it. That image, her mouth on someone else's, her hand on his shoulder, felt more violent than any explosion I'd seen overseas. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just sat down and stayed there, long into the night. When she came home, I was already in bed. The guest room. I heard the keys, the creak of the floorboards, the gentle click of her door closing. She didn't check on me, didn't ask where I'd been, and I didn't ask her either. But I knew. I didn't sleep much after that night. I'd lay there, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above the guest bed, trying to remember when exactly Melissa stopped loving me. Was it when Dylan left for college and the house grew quiet? Was it when I started limping up the stairs like a tired old man? Or maybe, just maybe, It was long before any of that. Maybe she was just waiting for the right moment, the right excuse, and I handed it to her on a silver platter when I retired. The days became slow and foggy. I wandered around the house like a ghost in my own life. I tried to stay busy, fixing loose hinges, organizing tools, detailing the van, but nothing silenced the voice in my head. She's cheating on you. You're not enough anymore. She traded you in for a newer model. I didn't want to believe it. I still cooked dinner some nights. Grilled steaks, made her favorite garlic butter shrimp. She barely touched the plate, said she'd already eaten at the studio. I left little notes on her nightstand. Flowers in the kitchen, nothing changed. Except her excuses. They got bolder, sloppier. One Thursday, she said she was staying over at a coworker's because of a morning Pilates retreat. I nodded, smiled. Then the next morning, I drove past the studio at 7:45 a.m., on my way to get new tires. It was closed. No cars. Just silence and dust on the windows. I waited there for 40 minutes. She never showed. I went home and opened the laptop I kept in the garage. It was an old one, dusty, slow, but it still worked. The security system app was already installed. I pulled up the external camera that faced the street, rewound the feed from the night before. There she was, wearing jeans, a hoodie, and a large duffel bag, walking toward the sidewalk. Then a black Dodge Challenger pulled up. A man stepped out, younger, tall, fit. He opened the passenger door for her, kissed her hand like something out of a romance movie. She laughed. Then she got in, and they drove off. I didn't recognize the guy, but I had an idea where to look. Melissa never liked technology much, but she used one of those online calendar apps for her studio appointments. She'd linked it to our old shared iCloud years ago, back when we still trusted each other. Apparently, she never disabled the sync. I pulled up the calendar, and there it was. A recurring, private session every Tuesday and Thursday night for the last 4 months, labeled with only one word, core. I clicked on the notes section. It read, core strength focus, assisted posture stretching, bring oils. Oils, my stomach twisted. I wasn't stupid. I'd seen this play out before, in barracks, in marriages around me, in broken homes back on base. I just never thought it would be mine. The next few days passed like static. I didn't confront her. I didn't slam the laptop shut or rage or scream. I just waited, watched, recorded. One night, I followed her, not in some dramatic movie-style chase. I just left 10 minutes after she did. Kept a distance. She met him at a cheap motel off in 83. They didn't even wait until the lights were out. I watched from the truck, parked under a broken streetlight. Sat there for almost 2 hours, heart pounding, throat dry, watching shadows move behind thin curtains. When she came out, hair messy, eyes bright, skin glowing, she didn't look guilty. She looked young, alive, like she hadn't in years. That's when it hit me. It wasn't just about sex. It wasn't about love either. It was about her, about who she wanted to be now. Someone free, desirable, not tied to a boring old man with arthritis and army stories. And maybe, just maybe, I had become the stranger in our house. I didn't sleep the night I followed her. I lay there in the guest room, staring up at the same ceiling I'd fixed years ago, counting every crack like it could distract me from the image still burned into my head. Melissa walking into that motel, laughing with that man like it was the most natural thing in the world. I felt hollow, not angry, not betrayed in a cinematic, explosive way, just numb, like I'd been erased from the life I'd spent decades building. But I wasn't ready to confront her yet. Not because I was afraid, not exactly, but because some part of me, the stupid, stubborn part that still loved her, needed to see how far she'd fallen, how long she'd been gone, even if her body still slept under the same roof. So I waited one more day. She came home late again, said the studio had a surprise inspection. I nodded, smiled. The next morning I made coffee, her favorite blend. Set the table like I used to do on Sunday mornings. Pancakes, fruit, orange juice in the nice glasses we never used. She looked at the spread like it was a foreign object, something out of place in her new reality. "You cooked?" she asked, half smiling. "Just wanted to have breakfast, like we used to." She sat down, picked at the food. I watched her closely, how she avoided eye contact, how her phone buzzed in her lap and she ignored it, but didn't silence it. And then I said it. "Who is he?" She froze, fork halfway to her mouth. She didn't ask what I meant, didn't pretend she didn't understand. She just lowered her fork, took a breath. "How long have you known?" "Long enough to watch him kiss you in our driveway. Long enough to follow you to that motel. Long enough to know it wasn't a mistake." She looked at me then, really looked. Not with fear, not with shame, but with a strange kind of exhaustion, like she'd been waiting for this moment. And now that it was here, she didn't have to hide anymore. "His name is Mark," she said quietly. "He's a client. Was, I mean. It started, I don't know, a few months ago." "How long?" I asked again. "4 months, maybe 5. I didn't plan it, Ray. It just happened." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was the same line I'd heard 100 times from broken men on military bases, trying to explain away things they couldn't face. "You didn't plan it, but you kept doing it." She didn't deny it. "Because with him, I feel seen." That word hit me harder than anything else she could have said. "Seen?" I repeated. "I served 26 years so you could live in this house, paid off every debt, fixed every broken pipe, every squeaky door, made every sacrifice. But you didn't feel seen?" "That's not what I mean," she said, voice cracking just slightly. "You've been gone, Ray, even when you're home. You came back from war, but it's like you never really came back. You barely touch me. You don't talk unless I ask something first. It's like you're here, but not really with me." "So that justifies cheating?" I asked, still calm, still deadly quiet. "No," she whispered. "It doesn't. But I needed to feel something again. I was tired of feeling like a caretaker for a broken man." That broke me. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the street we'd lived on for 18 years. I watched a neighbor walk their dog, watched kids on bikes racing down the sidewalk. Normal life, ordinary peace, while my entire world cracked quietly inside 4 walls. "You should have told me," I said. "You should have had the decency to say you were done, instead of sneaking around like a coward." She stood too, crossed her arms, eyes rimmed red, but no tears. "And you should have seen it coming, Ray. We've both been lying to each other. You pretend to be okay. I pretend to be faithful. That's not marriage. That's slow death." I didn't answer. What was there to say? I packed a bag that afternoon. Nothing dramatic, just essentials. A few clothes, my VA documents, the old photograph of us at Dylan's first baseball game. She didn't stop me. She didn't cry. She stood in the doorway, silent, and I looked at her one last time. The woman I once loved, the woman I built everything for. And I said, "I hope he's worth what you gave up." Then I walked out. I didn't go to a hotel that night. I drove aimlessly through Maryland for hours, headlights carving lines through the dark back roads. The same playlist ran 3 times before I noticed. Classic rock, mostly. Songs from when Melissa and I first met. Every one of them hurt like hell. I stopped at a small roadside diner around 2 a.m., ate half a slice of pie. Didn't taste it, just needed something warm in my hands so I wouldn't shake. Eventually, I found myself parked in front of a rundown extended stay motel near Aberdeen. Room 208 smelled like bleach and dust, the kind of place people disappear in. It felt fitting. I dropped my bag on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed, and I finally cried. Not like in the movies. There was no pounding fists on walls, no screaming. Just quiet, ugly sobs. The kind where your body caves in, where grief isn't loud. It's heavy. The next morning, I did what military men always do in crisis. I made a list. Call the VA, check on support groups, find short-term rental. Don't go back to the house. Contact lawyer. Figure out next steps for the divorce. Tell Dylan and Emma. That last one, I stared at it for a long time. They were adults now, 24 and 21. Emma was in Oregon working in environmental law, Dylan stationed in California. They didn't need their father calling them with this kind of pain, but I had to. They deserved the truth. I called Dylan first. He picked up with a laugh. Thought I was calling to ask about baseball or something light, but my silence gave it away. Dad, you okay? I'm not sure, son. Your mother and I aren't living together anymore. The silence on his end was longer than mine. He didn't ask why, because he already knew. Emma cried, said she felt it for months, that Mom's messages had become colder, short, surface level, that every time she FaceTimed, Melissa seemed somewhere else. I asked them not to hate her, not because she deserved kindness, but because I didn't want their memories of her poisoned by my pain. They promised me they'd be neutral, but I knew Dylan wouldn't forgive easily. I moved into a furnished rental outside town. It was small, clean, quiet, a place to breathe again. I started going to group therapy at the VA on Tuesdays, sat in a circle with men who wore the same pain in different patterns. Some had PTSD, others had lost children. One guy, Hank, had a wife who cheated while he was on life support after a roadside bomb. And somehow he still cracked jokes. He told me, "Pain doesn't kill you. The silence after, that's the real bastard. Don't stay quiet. Talk, even when it hurts." So I talked, for the first time in years. Weeks passed. Melissa didn't call, didn't text. I knew she was busy rewriting our life, reshaping our story to make herself the victim, most likely. That I was the cold husband, the emotionally distant vet, the man who forgot how to love. I let her, because I wasn't wasting energy correcting lies anymore. But then, a month later, the call came. It was 6:17 p.m. I was halfway through a microwave dinner when my phone buzzed. Melissa. I stared at the screen for a full minute, then picked up. Her voice was low. Software tired. "Hey, what do you want?" I asked blunt. "Just needed to hear your voice. You gave that privilege up the night you walked into that motel." She didn't argue. Instead, she said, "Mark left." I didn't say anything. Said he wasn't looking for anything serious, that he liked the thrill, not the reality. I thought, I don't know what I thought. You thought you were starting a new life. Turns out you were just a chapter in his. That landed hard. She swallowed. I was stupid. "No," I said. "You were selfish, and now you're just alone." She started crying, but I didn't feel pity, not anymore. She asked if we could talk in person. She said she missed me, missed us, that she wasn't sure what she wanted, but maybe we could fix it. I said no, flat, final, because I realized something in that moment. I didn't miss her. I missed who she used to be, who we used to be. But that version of her, of us, was long gone, dead and buried under motel bed sheets and forgotten vows. I hung up, stared at the silent phone, and for the first time since all this began, I felt free. It took me exactly 48 days to go back to the house. Not because I wanted closure. I had already made peace with leaving Melissa, but because I needed something I'd left behind. In the rush of packing, in the fog of heartbreak, I had forgotten the little wooden box in the back of the bedroom closet, the one that held my medals, my letters from Iraq, and a worn photo of me holding Dylan the day he was born. So I returned. One last time, the house looked the same from the outside. White shutters, a flag I'd nailed to the porch still fluttered half loose. But something about it felt different, like a place I no longer belonged to. A home turned hollow. I parked 2 houses down and walked the rest, not because I was hiding, but because I needed a few more seconds to breathe before stepping back into the ghost of my life. I still had a spare key. When I turned it in the lock and stepped inside, the silence hit me like a wall. Melissa wasn't home. I knew that. She'd started staying at her sister's place, or maybe with a friend. Honestly, I didn't care. But walking through those rooms again, The ones where we once danced barefoot, fought about bills, laughed over spilled wine. It hurt in ways I thought I'd buried. The living room still had her favorite throw blanket. The bookshelf still held the photo of us in Cabo. The hallway still smelled like her perfume. Soft, citrusy, warm. I went straight to the closet, pulled out the wooden box. It was untouched. As I opened it, my fingers ran across a folded paper I hadn't remembered putting in there. It wasn't military. It was a letter from her. I sat on the edge of the bed, our bed, and unfolded it. Ray, if you're reading this, you came back. I don't know what I expected. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. I wrote this because I knew I wouldn't be brave enough to say it to your face. I betrayed you, not just with Mark, but with the slow daily ways I stopped choosing you. You didn't deserve that. You never deserved to carry my emptiness like a second deployment. I was afraid of growing old, of feeling invisible, and I used you as a mirror for everything I hated about myself. You were solid, and I felt like dust. That's not your fault, it's mine. I hope you find someone who sees you, really sees you, the way I should have. I'm sorry. M. I folded the letter, sat there, let the weight of it pass through me. It didn't fix anything, didn't undo the betrayal, but it felt honest. And after all the lies, that was something. I took the box, walked through the house one last time. In the kitchen, I paused. There was a plate in the sink, her plate, no doubt, a half-eaten salad. I smiled, because life keeps going, even in the rubble. As I walked out, I closed the door behind me slowly. No slamming, no theatrics. Just a final, clean goodbye. In the months that followed, I rebuilt. I went fishing again for the first time in years. Started painting, badly but joyfully. Reconnected with old buddies from the Marines. I wasn't looking for love, but I found peace. And peace, I learned, is better. Better than passion poisoned by lies. Better than routines built on silence. Better than coming home to someone who's already gone inside. One night, almost 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just a photo. Melissa, holding a newborn baby. The back read, "Not Mark's, not yours, but mine to raise alone. Thank you for letting me go." M. I stared at that picture for a long time. Felt nothing. Not bitterness, not longing, just release. That was the true ending. Not revenge, not closure in the way people dream of, but a quiet truth. She had to fall apart to find herself, and I had to walk away to finally live.